All right. So what we are basically going to do is go through the syllabus, just to give us an idea of what to expect or the key issues that we are going to treat, right, for the ensuing that. And so again, this document, when you check through the folder we just went through, right, you are going to see it, okay? And it should just serve as a practical plan, okay, or a guideline for what we are going to do. And then also within it, I've included what we call the exam format. And please, before you enter into the exam room, this is something that you should be aware of. You know that in the exam, as we have it now, you have 5 questions that you are going to solve. So when you take the question 1 in your exam, what is being tested over there? Okay, and so this exam format, which is also a part of the course outline, will give you an idea of what to look out for. I hope that is clear. So please, what I try to do almost always is, if we are treating a topic in class, I will come to this particular exam format and tell you that, okay, this thing we are doing now, this is where you are going to find it within the exam. And this is what the examiner or the marks that the examiner is saying is going to allocate to that particular area. So in your mind, you know that, okay, if we are treating performance management or performance evaluation, that whole area accounts for 20 marks in the exam. And typically that is what your question 1. So you can note it down as what one of the key or important areas. Okay, when we are doing variance, okay, the variance, no, how many marks is the examiner saying he's going to allocate for that particular topic? So that should tell you that it's a hotspot. Okay, and so you need to what? Pay key attention to those areas. So that is basically how we are going to go about it. So that if for you want to just get your 50, you can even strategize around how to combine your lessons or your learning to get your 50. I hope that is clear. All right. So that is basically about that. And so to walk through the syllabus, okay, and then go through the exam format, which is basically using the syllabus content to spread it across the 5 questions. These are the things that we are going to do, right? So we are going to start with the contemporary approaches to MA, and we expect to treat those within the first 2 weeks. This is just tentative, right? As much as possible, I try to finish even earlier than what I have stated here, right? It's going to be very detailed, but we are going to cut through some of the chaff and focus on the really important stuff, right? Once we are done, we have like some 2 extra meetings where we are going to just solve questions, and that's something that I like to do. Okay, all right. So the contemporary approaches to MA, where for the content in there, the examiner is saying that the mark allocation is 15 marks. So what do you expect to see there? You have ethical issues, right? So all of these things that you are seeing here, ethical issues in MA, very crucial, right? So the examiner can test something like this, okay, in the exam. November 2024, that was the first installment of this new syllabus. The examiner asked the question on ethical issues, right? So we'll go through the issues of ethics and how it relates towards the management accountant. Then, very importantly, you have these models of evaluation, right? And so we are going to go through all of them, the throughput accounting. So for the models of evaluation, some of them are kind of theory areas, some of them are computational and theory. Okay. So throughput accounting, we are going to go through that. Just-in-time systems, which is just theory. Cost control, cost reduction, also theory. Environmental cost management, also theory. ABC. ABC. Remember last bite, ABC. So ABC has both theory and then computational aspects. Okay, even though it has been tested, we are going to go through it again, right? Just for the purpose of what? Gaining the knowledge. Total quality management, also theory, has a bit of computation in there, but not much. Re-engineering, also theory. Continuous improvement, also theory. Benchmarking theory, and then value chain analysis, also theory. So these basically will form part of what? The models of evaluation. Now, remember, please, all the issues here, all the things here, is what the examiner is saying he could test a part of them and give you 15 marks for it. Okay, we are not done. Remember, I spoke to you about the new introduction technology, right? So the impact of technological development on management accounting. So the issues in here, we are going to also tackle them. So the examiner says he can test you on any of these areas as part of the 15 marks that he has allocated for the contemporary approaches in MA. That notwithstanding, we also look at sustainable cost management. Funny enough, this area you cannot find it even in the manual, right? But I got information from another source, right? Which is also like what I mean is another manual, the SEC, right, where they have some of these things, and then I've included it in there. So also the sustainable cost management practices also a part of the contemporary issues when it comes to MA. So again, everything we have spoken about here for 15 months. I hope that is clear. All right. Then in the third and fourth week, we also look at a very critical topic or area in your syllabus, which has to do with what? Budgets and budgetary control, or budgeting and budgetary control. Also for what? A whooping 15 marks. So in total, how many? 30 marks, right? We've looked at 30 marks. So for us who like to do the permutations, you can see where you can get your marks, right? Or the areas where you can best get your marks. All right. So when it comes to this particular area, issues like the approaches to budgeting or the budgeting approaches, right? Constructive and destructive behavior. So these are the behavioral issues when it comes to budgeting, right? Your ability to prepare comprehensive budgets, what we call the master budget. So within or for the master budget, you clearly have the functional budget, cash budget, income statement, financial position. And if you could see in recent times, a number of them have been tested. Okay. Income statement, financial position, I think in November, right? November 2025, you saw a question coming from there. Okay. Last date, nothing from core budgeting was asked. Okay, but something from budgetary control was definitely tested. So we are going to go through all of these issues. Okay, so be aware of that. And then also prepare budget for public sector organizations. And typically we are going to go or look at how to prepare a cash budget in the public sector. Okay, all right. So public sector issues also being brought into the fold. I hope that is clear. All right. And for the budgetary control side, if you could look at last sittings paper, you remember you were asked something about preparing what we call a flex budget, right? So the flex budget, flexible budgeting aspect of the syllabus, it falls under budgetary control. I hope that is clear. So for 15 marks, budgets and budgetary control being tested. Then we come to one of my favorite areas. I'm sure it should be your favorite area when we are done with the topic. This has to do with management decision-making techniques. Okay, and that is for 15 marks, and we intend to do that within the 5th week. And here we are basically focusing on issues of variances, standard costing and variance analysis. Last night, I don't know, but I was very happy, okay, with the line of questioning by the examiner. Mainly because he was testing your understanding of the core issues when it comes to variance analysis. Okay, the questions were very good. Okay, So when it comes to variances, as we may know, we have the basic variances, the advanced variances. Last night, again, if you start the paper, okay, you will see the mix and yield being brought, right? So we are going to walk through all of those things. We'll go through the basic variances. We'll look at the various variations, right? The ability to do what we call a workback variance question, right? The operating statement, which helps to reconcile budgets, budgeted profit and actual profit, and so on and so forth, right? Ratio variances, which was tested in November 2025, right? We'll go through them. And for the theory areas, we'll look at the causes of the variances and then what issues on standard costing. Okay, so again, for these things that I have mentioned, the examiner is saying what? He's allocating 15 marks. So please, so far, how many marks have we looked at? So 15, 15, 30, plus another 15, 45. At the end of the day, I want you to ask yourself a very important question. Which of these areas, if this is not your first time, right? Which of these areas do you feel is more or less like giving you a challenge? And for this, that one thing I want all right, please, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hello,
Yeah,
sir.
Cynthia, your hand is up. Is there a question?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, you were asking what you are saying, which areas some of us that have written the paper before. Our challenges. We have
Yes,
challenges.
yes, yes.
Or you come to it later. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was saying that in all of these things that we are doing, right? Ask yourself, I want, because I'm saying this because we have looked at 45 marks, and I'm sure that within these 45 marks that we are speaking about currently, right, there are some areas in there which students, like, they try to run away from, right, because of probably, it's very difficult, and they will rather focus on other areas. And if those areas, the questions there are some way, then it means that you don't get your pass mark. Okay, so what I'm just saying, you are looking at the mark allocations, right? And all of these areas, they are very important. So try and tell yourself that the ones that I fear, those areas that I've been running away from, I'll try to do what? Try to master them. Okay? Because what you fear, no, that is where more marks is. Okay? So once you're able to tackle those areas where you have more marks, so let's say performance evaluation, question 1, it's a full 20 marks. If you're able to even get 10 out of 20, you have done good for yourself. Okay? You have done good for yourself.
Okay.
So that is basically what
I wanted to ask you. Yeah, sir. Hello, sir. Yeah,
yes,
I wanted to ask. I don't know. Is there a way? I know MA is a very troublesome course. Maybe as a lecturer, is there a way you advise us maybe this particular topic, they are always constant? You understand? Maybe there's a trick you can help us with. You understand? Though I know maybe you can't predict ICA, maybe this is coming or this is not coming. You understand? We prepare for the paper. By the time you get to the exam room, you are writing the paper, you feel that since this place I've not revised enough. And maybe the question is a bit twisted a little and you are confused, totally confused. You understand? But maybe some of the lecturers who can guide you and tell you that maybe variance analysis is always constant in the examination. So maybe the lecturer can maybe help us to know all aspects of the variance. You understand? There may be constant practice of those areas because they will always come. Maybe they will come in various forms, different forms. You understand? That's kind of a lesson that I want from you as a lecturer. Because honestly, some of us are fed up with this personally. You understand? I don't know how to do it.
I I I I I
So,
I 100% get you. Okay. All right. And
mm,
and personally for me, with the approach I use, right? Once we even start the main lectures, what I'll do is I'll bring to you the last sittings paper, right? And I'll just be pointing to you. You see this area that was asked. This is where you can find it within the lecture notes.
okay.
Almost 80% of the content. And I always say this, right? That for me, when you come for the main classes, right? Sometimes I say this. Someone will say, it's like you are not even, how do I even put it? Um, where you want to predict or say, oh, some students want last minute stuff, right? Where you predict for them that, oh, this area will come, this. But in the main
No,
class, I try to go through almost everything. And I try to say that when you come for the main class, just focus on the core things that we do within what? Within the class. Once you're able to do that, the intervention and those other things that I may tell you that, oh, they are very likely. They are just bonuses.
yeah,
Do you get me? Uh-huh. But
yeah.
if you don't learn and you are going to just rely on, oh, as Ruben predicted this area, and
Mm-mm. Mhm.
I'm just focusing on those ones, then you'll be found
Mm.
wanting.
Yeah,
It's a very big issue
yeah.
because last night or the night before, there were areas that I said will come. Some came, some didn't come. So even imagine or ask yourself, those areas that I said will come, right? What if you didn't even learn it very well? What does it mean? You are still not going to make it.
Yeah.
You get me? So please, I try as much as possible. The question, in fact, is a very important one. I touch on all aspects. When we take variance, there are so many variations of it. We are going to look at every aspect of it, whether
Okay.
advanced or basic variances. We are going to look at everything. And so even when we tackle that area, I'll tell you, you go back and take that past question, what was asked, and attempt it, just to see whether you understand what has been taught or not.
Okay.
Okay. So yes, it's a very comprehensive thing we are going to do. And I talk a lot when it comes to areas that I believe you should what pay key attention to. And when we start the lecture, you see me do that a lot. And
Okay.
I'll be warning you, please take it very seriously and all of that. Okay. So that is you don't have any cause for worry or concern. Just follow what we are going to do in class. Okay? All right. Right. So we come to this area. Also another area that students run away from. Short-term decision making. Okay, it also has or encapsulates a number of areas. Okay, and the mark weighting is what 20% or 20 marks will be coming from this area. Okay, so 45 plus 20 will give us 65. So far 65, right? And so when it comes to short-term decision making, what are the issues you are going to look at there? CVP analysis, or what we call break-even analysis, right? For single product, multi-product, you are going to go through that. The application of the high-low method, a technique that was required in a specific area last night in one of your questions when it came to the preparation of the flex budget, right? Uh-huh. So when we start going through them, I'm going to draw attention to all of these things, right? So high-low method, um, limiting factor analysis, okay? We're going to talk about all of these things. Pricing decisions. Last night, we asked some theory questions in there about pricing decisions, right? Some of the short-term decision-making approaches, the make or buys, the outsourcing, retention, disposal, right? Special orders, right? Or one-off contracts and all of those things. We're going to go through everything. And the examiner is saying all of these areas, they are going to test them for what? For 20 months. Okay, for 20 months. And again, this area is one of the very technical areas. But once you have a hang of it, you understand the key issues in there, you can be able to do something. Okay, at least if you score 10 out of 20, you are gone. You are gone. All right. So we intend to do that within the 6th and 7th week. And then we come to performance evaluation or performance measurement, the 8th and 9th week, right? And you see the mark weighting again, another what? 20 marks. So a total of 85 so far. And for this particular area, we are going to look at so many aspects. How to assess performance for what? For commercial companies, not for profit companies, right? And for companies that have divisionalized, okay, or they've grown big enough where now they have what? Various divisions scattered across. How we assess the performance of what? The various divisions. So what are the performance evaluation approaches or techniques? So your ROIs, your RIs, and then we'll look at the concept or the issue of with respect to transfer pricing. Last that you remember was again tested. Okay. And that paper or that question that was asked was, I believe, one of the, okay, when it comes to transfer pricing, one of the papers that the examiner, I don't know, was trying to dash you the marks or something. But if you compare that with the transfer pricing question that came the night before, which was in November, right, you are clearly going to see that there were differences. Okay, so we are going to go through all of these things when it comes to performance evaluation. It's a very broad area, but I'm going to try as much as possible to capture all of the key issues. So the approaches towards assessing the performance of companies, whether it being a manufacturing company, a service-based company, and the models that you are going to use. Your balance scorecard, your figure out the moon, building blocks, the dimensions of the blocks, right? And then so on and so forth. So that is basically what this area is going to look at. Also very broad. Okay, we treat all of these issues for what? For 20 marks. So 85 in total, okay, with all that we have said right now. And then we come to one of the new additions I spoke about, right? When it comes to the public sector, the examiner is saying that he's going to test you on a number of things for 15 marks. And I said that is the project appraisal in the public sector. So how do you appraise projects in the public sector? Using cost benefit analysis, cost outcome analysis, and last night, I hope you can remember this, cost effectiveness analysis. Okay, so we spoke extensively about how to appraise projects using this. Some theory issues on externalities, the role of the management accountant when it comes to project management, right? And some other issues with respect to ratio analysis in the public sector. Okay, so all of these key issues for 15 marks. Okay, for 15 marks within the exam. Okay, all right. So you sum up all of these things and basically you are getting 100%. Okay, so this is the content of the syllabus as the ICAG has it. But let's look at how that translates into the 5 questions that you are going to see when it comes to your exam. So you know you have 5 questions. When you take your question 1, what are you expecting to see? Question 1, as you can see, is the area E. What was area E within our syllabus? Area E had to do with what? Performance evaluation. So the examiner is saying that all of the content that you are seeing there is going to test them for what? 20 marks in your exam. Okay? All right. Question 2, what are we to expect? In question 2, we have the contemporary approaches, which is the A part of your syllabus, right? To MA. And the examiner is saying that for the area under the contemporary approaches, he's going to what? Test you for 5 marks in question 2. Then the other 15% will come from what? Budgets and budgetary control. You can be able to assess this yourself when you take what? Past questions from November 2024. You are going to see how the examiner has what? Presented the questions. When you take your question 2, you know it's under what? Budget. Okay? And then some issues under what? The contemporary approaches. So please, you need to know the content of the syllabus. It is something you need to master. so that you don't go into the exam room and you don't know what to expect. I hope that is clear. So that is basically about that. So 15 marks, the examiner says budget and budgetary control, all the issues in there for 15 marks. So you add that to the 5 marks here, and you get 20 marks for your question 2. So we've done 40 marks. Then for your question 3, the C part of the syllabus, which had to do with what? Management decision-making techniques, specifically variance analysis and the standard costing area, right? The examiner says 10 marks. Okay? Then look at this. So when we come to question 3, the other parts also has to do with what? The contemporary approaches in MA. And the examiner is saying that what? He's going to test them for what? For 10 marks. So remember, we have some contemporary approaches in question 2, right? For 5 marks. And then in question 3, you are seeing something of that sort for 10 marks. So at the end of the day, when we are treating the issues under what? The contemporary approaches in MA, you know that you're going to get what? 15 marks from there. 15 marks. And most of them are either the calculation ones are just the ABC and the throughput. They are getting a theory. So once you're able to master the theory areas there, you put your words, you have put your best foot forward. 15 marks. Okay? So please, this area, I want you to also think very, very, very seriously, which is the contemporary approaches. All right. So question 3, the 2 adds up and you get 20. Okay? And so 60 marks in total. Then your question 4, which is the new area, the project appraisal in the public sector, right? The examiner says what? 15 marks. 15 marks. So check last night, the question that came there. When you add up all the questions that was asked, okay, under the project appraisal, it sums up to 15 marks. Then the other 5 marks will be coming from what? This variance analysis and standard costing area. So again, check your question 4 for last night's paper. You will see that the 5-mark question that was asked related to what? Standard costing. Okay, related to standard costing. So at the end of the day, you have 20 marks for question 4. But when it comes to variance analysis, right, you have 5 marks under question 4. And then what? You have 10 marks. Where is it? 10 marks under what? Under question 3. So again, variance analysis and standard costing. How many marks? 15 marks in total. And I'm mentioning these areas because these areas are what I'll call your low-hanging fruits. They are not difficult too. They are not difficult. Especially variance analysis. It's not difficult at all. Okay? All right. So once you're able to master them, you get what? Your 15 marks from that side also. Okay. So that's about question 4, what you have there. Then we come to question 5, which is mainly on what? The short-term decision-making approaches. And so all the issues we have here for what? For 20 marks. So when you look at it critically, question 1, question 5, they are the ones that carry the most marks, 40 marks. And I'm again saying that these are the areas that students don't like. I don't know why. So someone will not learn them at all. So if you are such a student, what have you done? You've narrowed your entire 100 marks to what? To just 60. 60 in the crown, or there are areas that you think you know or you think you like. But when you go into the exam room and the twist is small now, what happens? Okay? So please, I would want you to go through the tuition we are going to give you in a very holistic approach. Don't say, I like this, I don't like this. No. Okay? You, if not for nothing at all, just go through what I've taught you. Just do that. Try to understand what I've taught you. Just do that. Okay? It's very important. So that, I always say that when you come for classes, I don't want you to be thinking or saying that the best mark I want to score is 50. No. After we are done, if you've gone through everything, 50 is just like the starting point. You are aiming higher. So if you start aiming higher, 50 is not the target. Okay? And that is the approach I want you to take. Don't aim for 50. Aim for 70. You aim for 70. Okay, when we slash it down, we do the plus and minuses. You can get your 50 something. Then you are gone. I'm pleading with you. Okay, let's not be selective in how we approach the teaching and learning. Okay, engross yourself in what we are going to do. Yes, it's a lot. Okay, but I'll try as much as possible to break the issues down. Even if you are busy, replay the video, listen to my voice. These 12 weeks, let my voice be one of the voices you'll be listening to a lot. I beg you. Okay, I beg you. No selective learning. Okay, all right. So please, basically, this is a short overview when it comes to the syllabus. Okay, what is in there, how it has been spread out when it comes to what the exam, and basically what you are to expect when you enter into what the exam. Okay, all right. So I'll now open the floor, right, for us. If there's any question, any suggestion, okay, how you would want us to go about this entire teaching and learning for these 12 weeks. Okay, how you want us to go about it. I have shared what or the approaches I would want us to use. I want to hear from you guys, okay, so that we can see how best to kill this MA paper once and for all. Okay. All right. So the floor is open. The floor is open for all of us. Any questions, contributions, suggestions? Any questions? Please don't be shy. Okay. You can send your message also in the chat if you don't want to talk, and I'll read it and address it also. Any question? Any suggestion? All right, let me see. Yes. Anyone with any question, please?
Yeah, so I wanted to
Yes.
ask if there will be a group study. You group us into maybe mini groups for us to do our personal discussions. That one could
Right.
do help.
Right. Very good. You brought my attention to this. Yes. When it comes to the groups, right? Uh, hmm, Sometimes it's very complicated because we try to group students. Maybe one person may not be like forthcoming when it comes to meeting and all of that, right? And then it spoils the whole thing. Sometimes because of location, even if members would want to meet physically, it will mean that one or two people will not be available to meet, right? So what I'll suggest is I'll try to create one for you, but if it doesn't work, okay, if it doesn't work, please try to communicate amongst yourselves, right? And then so that probably
Okay.
if your locations are very like you are close to each other, maybe I know some people will be in Kumasi, some will be in Accra, some will be in other parts of the country, right? So that you can see how best you collaborate. Even if it's over the internet, you can see how best to collaborate. It's the reason why sometimes I don't want to create for people because they may say, oh, maybe someone is not forthcoming and so on and so forth. So
Okay.
let's see how it works. Whether you create it for yourself or you want me to step in, whichever one you want, I'll see how best we can go about it. Okay. But group study is very
Okay.
crucial. All right.
Okay.
Sure. Please, any other question? Any other question? Any other question? Contribution? Yes, Millicent.
Good evening again, sir.
Good evening.
So Mine is a suggestion and also a question. Okay, first of all,
Okay.
I want to suggest if you can give us assignments after every class so that we are forced to to go over what we have learned for us to submit to you.
Assignment.
Yes, like
Okay.
you should try our hands on this question and then send it to you. And that
Okay.
one you are forced rather than waiting for the test at the end of um, the topic.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And then
Okay.
secondly,
Mm,
okay, I don't know what exactly went wrong, but what could be the reason? Maybe you've learned and you've prepared, you went to the exam room, you saw all the questions, you know everything that the examiner wants you to do. I mean, everything
mm,
was taught in class. You can remember everything, you can relate. And then all of a sudden, it seems like some things are jamming in your mind. Like, so
mm.
you were confused. So some of the questions, some formulas, I mean, some has disappeared and all. What do you think went wrong? Is it that um, we didn't solve, like personally, the candidate didn't solve lots of questions, or when the
Mhm.
question was twisted a bit, like Cynthia said earlier, you get
Mm.
confused. That's what I want to know. What could go wrong so that
Oh,
it could be done right this time around? Maybe do I didn't do enough questions. So when the question was twisted a little bit, I got confused.
okay. All right. So,
Thank
so even in your question, right, it appears more or less that you've done a personal audit, right, to try to
you. Yes,
assess,
yes.
yeah, what the possible issues could be, right? And the two scenarios you painted could be possible reasons why that could happen. Someone even shared with me, students shared with me. Well, like there was this particular question. We had done it in class, so I again added it when it came to our intervention documents, right? As one of the questions that we need to
Yes,
look at.
yes.
The student said
Yes.
they solved this question a day before. This that the question I'm talking about is the flex budget question. They went there
Yes.
and everything had disappeared, like as if they've not treated it
Hmm.
before. That one, a lot of things can happen when it comes to the exam. I don't know. Pressure. Maybe you didn't get to the exam venue very early, so there was pressure. So many things can happen,
Hmm.
right? So sometimes it is not that you don't know, but um, things that you can do when it comes to trying to remember something you've learned, it's more psychological, right? You would have to remember something, and that will trigger. So this more psychological than maybe you me saying you've not learned or you've not prepared well, right? So when learning, you should be able to use some things that could help trigger memories. Okay, it will trigger memories, right? That
Okay.
could help you remember something that you've learned. There could be so many factors. Okay, and so I always advise get to the exam center very early. Look for your seat. All of these things help. Within the 15 minutes planning time that you've been given, try to be behind your desk. Okay, and so on and so forth. When you feel pressured, just relax. Okay, just relax. Probably try another question. Because when you force your mind to try to remember, I know this and I know this thing, what you do is you kind of increase the pressure you put on your brain, right? And at the end of the day, you'll not be able to remember anything. So it's not that you've not prepared well, but so many things that happen psychologically when it comes to what attending the questions can also play a factor. Okay. But again, the other thing you mentioned, which was solving more questions. Solving more questions also helps to boost your confidence. Because if you solve many questions relating to a particular area, I mean, when you see it, your mind now asks you, okay, in this particular question, which trick are they using? Okay, or what variation of the question are they bringing to me? I hope that is clear. So that also helps. So solving more questions, non-negotiable. And also when it comes to trying to remember stuff, okay, having trigger points or things that you can use to remember during the exam room. Also, remaining calm. Okay, remaining calm in situations where you know the thing, but it is just not coming to you. Just relax for like some 5 minutes. Just relax. Try to remind yourself when you were learning that particular topic, what were you doing? Like, just take your mind to a place where you can calm down and try to remember what you were doing. It just takes a click, right? And then everything will start downloading and coming back to you. Okay, so many factors would account for it, especially when it comes to seeing questions, knowing that you know this thing, but even how to approach or start it is even a problem. Okay, all right. I hope I've been able to provide some form of clarity to you.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Sir, sir, one thing
Yes.
I want to chip in this. One thing I've realized is I've gained this experience over the years with the ICA. As my sister said, not that you are not prepared, you are prepared. I think tuition providers should add this to their tuition plan to help students psychologically. See, as you are telling us now, maybe before you get to the exam room, you relax, you did like that. Some things that you have to do. Most failures are coming from these things. Most of us fail because of managing examination pressures. You understand? You enter the room, you are prepared. You don't know what happened. You open question one. Maybe the question one, you are not so familiar. You went to question two, so not so familiar. You are off already. You understand? You are off. So maybe if there's a way, maybe you can help, teaching provider can help students to overcome this. This is a major failures of most students. Not that they don't know, they are prepared for the exam. But you come out, you don't know what happened, you fail the paper. It's a very major problem some of us face. I mean, not that I'm afraid when I get I'm so afraid. No, I'm confident, I'm prepared. And you enter the room, you prayed, all right. That's in the exam, you open your question paper, you're trying to do your best. At the end, you could see that at the end of the paper, yourself, within you could see that you have not done what you feel you have to do. Yes. So I think if tuition providers can deduce a strategy, psychology is a psychological problem. Yeah. So that it will help students overcome this. It will reduce failures. I think to reduce failures.
On a lighter note, this is a cue for me to go and take psychology classes, okay, to also help. So, madam, we are aligned, okay. But I try to share some of these tips when it comes to what to do before, during the examination. I share that a lot. Okay, so we'll go through all of that. Not to worry. Irene, sorry for keeping you waiting.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, Irene, you can be heard.
To add up to what my sisters are saying, most of the times we have realized that tuition providers will not finish the syllabus on time. And then they will be having strong class evening, afternoon, morning, even to the last minute. Some will be having classes. And so we will get to the exams hall and everything is flowing in the head and the head gets crashed. Like the white people will say there's a glitch. And the glitch will not help you to remember. That's the whole thing. And so I've realized that this class is mixed up with people who have already learned and people who are new. When you are lecturers, consider that some are actually new and we have no other idea of all the syllabus in the course. So the pace should be for the newcomers, please, so that we can all be at par.
All right. Okay, very well said. It's an approach that I use, okay? And I even tell students, even if you've written this paper before, right? It's very hard. I say this as someone who also while sitting my exams, I trailed a number of papers, right? And like relearning everything again, sometimes it can be very demotivating. Okay. But what I told myself was that I'm going to treat the issues like I am looking at them for the very first time. That is what I did. Or that's what I said to myself. Taking it painstakingly. And if you're a person of faith, you also you say, we say these things. I'll tell God, you see the pain I'm putting into this, or you see the work or the effort I'm putting into this. Do not let it go into what? Don't let it go into vain. I don't know, but you say these things, right? Painstakingly go through the issues again. So having an understanding of this, I understand that there are people who are coming back again and all of that. But I take time to go through it like it is your first time. So what I also require from you is that, yes, you know it. Don't just say, okay, I know this, I know that. So I know. Go through it again. It's difficult. It's painstaking, right? But that is what will help you yield the results. So I on my part will go through again, knowing that we have different categories of students. I also want you as a student to also um, go through it like this is your first time. Okay. And I believe at the end of the day, we'll come out victorious. The issue about having done classes, madam, sometimes it's not as maybe the problem will be probably having done classes towards the end of the session. So what I mentioned earlier was that I try to finish on time, and we even have like some 2 spare meetings, okay, where we do what? Where we go through questions. Okay, so when it comes to finishing the syllabus content on time, you have no problem. Okay, when it comes to this side. Okay, but I do understand, or I'll say I understand why some institutions or some tutors sometimes delay. The content is too much, and so you need someone with an eye to be able to what? Help you sift through the chaff. Okay, help you focus on areas that are what are very, very important and pertinent. And that is something that is a game changer, okay, or something that helps students to be able to focus and know areas that they need to basically focus on. So I'll not blame people much. The content is so much, and so sometimes we have to be doing these dawn classes. Even for us, we have to sometimes meet at dawn. So let's say we have a scheduled class. If the class doesn't come on because of an emergency, we'd have to reschedule to a dawn period to have it. Okay, so please bear with us. Okay, but when it comes to finishing the syllabus on time, yeah, you don't have any problem when it comes to this side. Okay.
Oh yeah, the
All
dawn
right,
is
Madam
good. I
Irene.
was waiting till the end. There was one I witnessed, even at the last day they were going to write the paper. They were still having classes. They have recorded video to watch after 6 o'clock. When will you finish to get to the bus station to go to your center?
Mm,
Oh, it's good. The dawn classes there is good. But
okay,
the time,
okay, okay. All right, very well noted. That issue is averted over here. Okay, all right. Very grateful for your contributions so far. Um, any other ones? Any other ones? Any other ones? All right. Okay. So I believe we have been able to have a fruitful session, fruitful discussion. If not for anything at all, we have armed ourselves with what is new when it comes to the syllabus. If it's your first time, strategies that I've put in place or have outlined that if we all put into practice will help us, okay, increase our chance of passing. And we've also gone through an overview of the syllabus and what the content involves. That is basically what we've done today. We will end the session here. hopefully on Saturday, we are going to have what? Our very first lecture. Okay. And so please, if there's nothing which is going to stop you from being in class, I know a number of us have reached out that there may be situations or circumstances that will not let us be in class. That is very fine. Okay. But if you don't have any such thing stopping you from being in class, I'll beg you, okay, as much as possible, try to be in the main class. If you're not able to join the main class, the recorded sessions will be uploaded. And I'm sure, please, you have to be on the class WhatsApp page and then also the Telegram channel where the videos will be posted. So if you are not on any of these platforms, kindly draw my attention, okay? And then also ensure I have shared with you the folder that I showed you earlier, and also you have the links for the class. Okay, we have 2 links, one for Monday, one for Saturday. Ensure you have both. Okay, so please let me repeat or let me write down the things that you need to ensure you have. So first is ensure you're on the class WhatsApp and Telegram page. Ensure you have, so I share with you the MA Google Drive folder, right? And then I also share 2 class links. I share 2 class links with you, right? One on Monday, so Monday and Saturday class links. Ensure you have all of these things. If you don't, draw my attention in the background so that we sort it out, okay? Now, these links are what we are going to use for all our classes. So please, we will not be sharing links on the class page. When you check your mail, you are going to see a reminder. And we just tap on the link and then we just go. I hope that is clear. All right. So a bit of information. All right. So if there are no other suggestions or no other contributions to be made or no other questions, when the class here and meet on Saturday, like I was saying, please try to be present in class. If you're not able to join, recorded videos will be uploaded in less than 12 hours, okay? Or within 12 hours, you should have the video. And do well to watch it before the next class. All right. So we'll end the session here. It was a very fruitful one, I believe. And I'll see you on Saturday. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you, sir.